Greetings, Nature Boy. It's been a couple of months that I've been observing you now. And the only reason I ever started observing you is because the first video that popped up on my screen in my YouTube feed as a suggestion said that it had something to do with you knowing astrology. And I've been studying astrology for 23 years, so I was curious to see who the black guy with his shirt off and oiled up chest. I was curious to see what did he know about astrology. So I clicked on it, on the video, and I started watching it. And to say the least, I was not impressed at all with nothing that you were saying about astrology. I thought you was going to tell me something that I did not know. And as I listened to you, I came to see that everything that came out of your mouth regarding astrology was a theory, and it was a convenient theory. And most of your information about astrology is fragmented. And I see how when people ask you to go deep into the chart or ask you something about the aspects, you can't never go deep on the aspects. You can't never really explain what these aspects mean. And you tell people that they have debilitated charts. And there's no such thing as a debilitated chart. Now, when you're a doomsday person, or you a spookster type person, or you're the kind of person who's into telling people bad news because you want them to depend on you, you will tell people that they have a debilitated chart. You're no different than the people who have those shops set up on the corner and you go in there and get a palm reading and they tell you you got some kind of spell on you, and if you pay them so much money, they'll get the spell off you. You're no different from them. You're no different from the people in the church that tell people they have demonic spirits on them and they're going to have to come to church and pay their tithes and offerings in order to get this demon off of them. You ain't nothing but a spiritual hustler. And, I can look at your chart and I can see how you went down the rabbit hole of becoming that way. So I feel for you on that, because you've been all alone in the world and all alone in your head, isolated inside of your head. I can see the aspect pertaining to that in your chart. And no matter how many people you have around you, you're never happy and you're never fulfilled and you never feel like anyone has your back. And so what you do is you manipulate people to love you. You put them under this false spell or this spell to manipulate them into loving you and never leaving you. That way you can ensure that somebody will always be around you. But even with having those people around you, you're still never fulfilled. You still never feel fulfilled. Look at your chart. Your Jupiter in the 12th house square the moon. What you think that means? You need to study that aspect in your chart, Nature Boy, because from observing you and looking at your chart, you are the perfect case study for everyone in your group, or anybody who's interested in studying astrology. You're the perfect case study. But I would encourage all people to first study themselves, because that's what you're really supposed to use astrology for. Knowledge of self. Understanding of self. Because a lot of us are running around with all these character flaws and these issues that we got going on with us. And we know we have them going on with us, but we don't understand why we have them going on with us. And so astrology gives you the knowledge and the understanding of why you are the way you are, and why people react to you the way that they do. So the reason why I wanted to do this video specifically is because I've seen videos, Nature Boy, where you ask people what their sign is, and then if they're already getting on your nerves or they're not letting you have the upper hand, you like to find something about their sun sign to make negative that benefits you in a way where you can justify that you're right and they're wrong. Example, the last video I saw was you talking to an Aquarius, and he hadn't done anything. You guys were just talking, and you accused him of trying to play tricks on you. You said the Aquarius was a trickster, and you said that a Taurus is way more honest than an Aquarius. I said, this nigga is a straight fool when I heard you say that shit. And I saw that video before I even seen your chart, and I had already concluded before I seen your chart that you had to have Aquarius influence in your chart. You had to have. Because even though your information about astrology is fragmented, and even though your study is very limited, or your knowledge of astrology is very limited, every now and then you might say something that's truth. That's the truth. That's your lucky days that you may say something that's true. And the only reason why you're able to have such a huge following is because you're preaching to people who know absolutely nothing about astrology. So the little bit of information that you give them on those lucky days when you get something right, you intrigue them with that. Because they didn't know anything at first. And you know this. This is the reason why you only deal with people who are young-minded or people who are young, because you know they don't have knowledge of self. You know that they're in their early stages of their journey, and they're curious, and they're looking for something bigger than life. And you appeal to them because you can. You can't appeal to nobody that's the same age as you. You can't appeal to nobody who has knowledge of self. Every time I watch your videos, I'm able to predict what you're going to do. You're so predictable. The only thing you're unpredictable, but you're predictable in the sense that you're unpredictable. But after watching you for a while, one can see what you're going to do. One can see your next move. One can see how you are only way ahead of those people who do not have knowledge of self. Those are the people you are way ahead of. You're not way ahead of anybody else that's the same age as you. You're not way ahead of those people. Unless they have a childlike mind. And you know when you're dealing with a childlike mind. So with that being said, I'm going to go into your chart, and I want to address what you said to the young man that had the sun in Aquarius. I want to address that. You said that he was a trickster because he has sun in Aquarius. And I stress sun in Aquarius because you have a bad habit of thinking that because someone has a planet in a sign, that's the only energy that they're expressing. And that's the only way that you can see that sign. That's why you weren't aware of the fact that you have Aquarius in your chart. Because you're basing it only on planets and signs. That's what you're basing your knowledge on. And it's more than one way to skin a chicken. Okay, so you said he was a trickster because he's an Aquarius. And you was the one that was more honest than him because you have sun in Taurus. Okay, but when I look at your chart, nature boy, wait a minute, before I tell you that part, let me give you a lesson right quick because I'm going to teach you something that you don't know. Every sign has a planetary ruler. And the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. Now, nature boy, what you got in your first house? What you got right there in your first house? For those of you who don't know, the first house represents the first thing about you. It represents the first thing people see about you. It's opposite of the seventh house of partnership. So whoever you're trying to relate to, whether it be at work, whether it be through the internet, whether it be in person, family, relatives, or whatever, that's the first part about yourself that you're showing them, that they see about you, is your rising sign. And if you got any planets in there, they see that too. So nature boy has Uranus in the first house, which is the ruler of Aquarius. And he sit up there and say, the Aquarius is the trickster. You a bigger trickster than somebody who got sun in Aquarius because you got the actual planet that rules Aquarius in your first house. So that's one of the first things that we see about you, is that you're a rebel, because Aquariuses are rebels. We see that you can be unpredictable, but you're predictable in the sense that you're unpredictable. We can see all the changes you go through and all the changes you make, from melanation to carbonation, from Tehuti to Master Chief to Eligio by nature to Chief, Nature Boy. All the changes that you make, all the name changes that you do on people, the name changes of your group, you just full of changes, bro. Cause you got Uranus in the first house, the planet that rules Aquarius. So you are straight up raw energy, dude, of Aquarius energy. Straight up raw. Because whenever you put anything in that first house, you're dealing with raw energy. Because the first house rules Aries naturally. So that first house is a fire house. It's ruled by Aries. And whenever you put anything on that first house, you're going to have an impulsive nature of that sign. You are an impulsive Aquarius. That's the energy that you carry with that Uranus in that first house. Now, that's one of the first things we see about you. The other first thing that we see about you is your Scorpio rising. Because you got Scorpio rising on the first house with Uranus in there. Now, Scorpio, we all know that the part of the body that's ruled by Scorpio is the genitals. Every sign is ruled by a part of the body. And we all know that Scorpio is known for their sexual nature. I've been dealing with children for a long time. I've been a preschool teacher. I've been doing childcare in my home. I've had children in my childcare that Scorpios, or that has Mars in Scorpio and Venus in Scorpio. So when you told the story about being a very, knowing about your sexual nature as a young child, I believe you on that, because I've dealt with children who have that. But they're not as outward with it, unless they got that Uranus in the first house like you have. But you have Scorpio rising along with Uranus in the first house, and Scorpio is about that sex. Okay, that's why you're always talking about sex. That's why when you come online, you got your shirt off and you oil your body up. You always trying to look sexy. You're always trying to be enticing. You're trying to show the women, or make the women think that, they should come sleep with you, that you're the best in bed. You even said you was an expert at sex, this, that, and the other. That's another thing that we see about you. That's the first thing we see. So the first thing we see with Nature Boy, according to astrology and according to life, I don't want to say real life because astrology is real life. What we see about Nature Boy is he's a sex addict, and he has Uranus in the first house. So he's got that Aquarius energy coming straight raw, coming straight for that ass. Now, your Uranus in the first house is opposed Mercury in the seventh house. And your Mercury is conjunct Chiron. Lord have mercy. You represent that Uranus in the first house. And everybody that you deal with is representing that Mercury. Because Mercury is communication. And the Mercury is over in your seventh house of partnerships. The people that you want to relate to. So that's the reason why you always online, running your mouth to the people that you want to relate to, or you want them to relate to you. They represent that Mercury. And you got Mercury conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. So you attract people that are looking for healing. Through your communication, you do this. For those of you who have access to Nature Boy's chart, take a look at his chart. I'm not lying. His Mercury is conjunct the wounded healer. Mercury is the planet of communication. It rules Gemini and it rules Virgo, and it represents the messenger. So this is who the people. These are who Nature Boy appeals to. He appeals to wounded people because he's wounded. With his Mercury conjunct Chiron, what this tells me about Nature Boy is, as a child, and perhaps throughout his whole life until he started Carbonation, he doesn't feel like he's ever, like he was heard. He feels like he's been ignored all his life. He's felt voiceless, and he's felt like he couldn't defend himself or stand up for himself. That's how he's felt. And he can take that energy and he can heal people with it, or he can destroy people with it. Because the wounded healer, whatever you went through that wounded you, is actually what you can take to go heal people with. And I think it's quite possible that Nature Boy had good intentions when he started Melanation, now Carbonation, to heal people. But what happened was he didn't work on himself. You got to work on yourself first, Nature Boy. You can't be out here preaching to people about astrology and telling them about knowledge of self if you haven't first worked on yourself. Because what's happening is you have a side of you that wants to do good, but that lower side of you, it keep making you go into the manipulating aspects of your Uranus, your tricky part of you that's opposing your Mercury of communication. The trickster in you communicating to folks, appealing to them. And then once they get up close and personal with you, it's a whole nother story. You got to work on self first. Because every time you try to do good, your lower self, the part that you haven't worked on, the part that you haven't trained, because you're not trained. You haven't trained yourself through the use of astrology. All you do is use astrology to lure people in. But you haven't really used it on yourself to heal yourself so that you can go out there and heal others. Astrology is intended for you to use for yourself first before you can help other people. You always talking about the lower self. You wear that out. You wear the lower self out. You always in your lower self. You're not at your highest, Nature Boy, but you could be. You have a lot of potential in your chart to do great things. But you haven't trained yourself yet. You have to train yourself on your oppositions and your squares. Your oppositions and squares is there to build you up, to make you stronger. But first you got to recognize them and acknowledge them and accept them for what part they play in your life. Then once you do that, the energy will no longer control you. You will be able to control the energy of those challenging aspects of your chart. When we're not aware of, or when we don't have knowledge of self, we don't have power over self. And when we don't have power over self, somebody else is going to come in and have the power over you. The less you know about yourself, the more somebody else can implant their ideals and purposes onto you. And that's what you do to the people who follow you. You know they don't know who they are. You know that they're lost. So you basically exploit them of that. So we talked about your first house. We talked about your Uranus in the first house, Nature Boy. You have strong Aquarius influence. Uranus is sitting right there in your first house, and it's retrograde, bro. Retrograde. You really need to get in control of your energies. Now, I talked about the people that you appeal to as far as them being wounded and as far as them looking to be healed and coming to you for that healing, because you're appealing to them and giving them this illusion that you're able to do this. You're able to offer them something better than what they had in Babylon, even though Babylon is permeating all over your damn place in Carbonation. But the people that you appeal to, I want to talk about that. Now, sometime back, I ain't seen it lately, but sometime back, you used to have the people put their charts in their profile. So I saw many of the charts of the people who follow you. I done seen at least 20 of them. And I've seen 4 charts of the people who used to follow you. One of them is coming back to you. At least she announced she was going back to you. And recently somebody just left your group, and I inboxed her and asked her, well, I asked her on her page actually, what was her planetary placement, because I wanted to find out what hers was so it can solidify my theory of the people that come up there. And my theory was, when I went looking at these people's charts, is that they have to have something in the 12th house, or they have to have a planet or a couple of planets or whatever in Pisces. They can have one or more planets in Pisces, or they can have one or more planets in the 12th house. Having Neptune aspecting a personal planet wouldn't be strong enough. So that's what you attract in people who are up under illusion and looking to be saved, looking to escape. For those of you who don't know, Pisces in the 12th house and the planet Neptune rules over the energy of escapism, illusion, dreams, delusions. In the 12th house, you have institutions, hospitals, churches, schools. Did I say the mental asylum? The mental asylum, yeah. Any type of institution you can think of is in that 12th house. Not only does he attract people who have that in their chart, planets in the 12th house, and planets in Pisces. I want to be specific about the planets that have to be in Pisces. It wouldn't be Uranus, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be Neptune in Pisces. It would be Mercury, Sun, Mars, Venus, rising, Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn. Any of those can be in Pisces, and those are the people that's in your group. I guarantee you, if you go pull up everybody's chart that's living with you right now in Carbonation, they're going to have something in the 12th house, or they're going to have a planet in Pisces. A planet or more planets in Pisces. The one who just left from there, she had 2 in Pisces, but the reason why she left is because she have Sun in Aries and she have Mars in Leo. Anybody that's going to have the balls to wake up, even if they got something in Pisces and get up out of Carbonation, they would need to have their Mars be in a fire or air. If they got their Mars in a fire or air, they're going to eventually leave you. Because you can't make no fire, no air stay in no one area and be stuck up under you all day long. Anybody who got their moon in fire or air is not going to be with you at some point. They're going to leave too. Because the moon rules feelings and emotions, and you can't bottle up no air and no fire. You can't keep them stuck like that. Now, if you got anybody with earth signs in there too, they'll eventually leave too, but something drastic got to happen to earth before it go. Something drastic. You got to do something real drastic to them, because earth can get comfortable. And anybody with water, if they got too much water in their chart or too much planets in water houses, they probably going to be stuck with you for a long, 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 long time. Because water absorbs its environment. And the more the water absorbs, the more filth it absorbs, the more filthier it becomes. And it becomes very challenging to cleanse it. They would probably have to be rescued up out of there. Somebody probably have to come up in there and get their ass up out of there. And then by the time they get the water person home, they would have to take them through a total detox to get their minds right, to cleanse them of you. So it doesn't matter if I tell you this or not. What's going to happen is going to happen. What's going to be is going to be. Me doing this video is not to try to prevent people from going to Carbonation or to prevent people from following Nature Boy, because I cannot prevent that. It's a fool born every day. Most of the people that's following him right now are people who don't know about his history. They tune in, they hear him talking, they like what he's saying, so they stick around. They don't even go bother to look up his past. And then those who know his history and follow him, they're just as trifling as he is. So that's the reason why they follow him. They like the drama. They like to see him treating women like shit. They like to see him abandoning his children, because they probably are people who abandon theirs. As we can see, he got 2 or 3 women up there in Carbonation right now that abandoned their children. They was following him. And then he appeals to people who are rebels, like himself, who just wants to do something different in life, who wants to do something revolutionary to help people on a large scale, because Aquarius, which rules the rebellion energy, is a humanitarian. He attracts those people too, but they're not going to stay with him for long. Rebels ain't going to stay nowhere for long, right? Makes sense, don't it? So I discussed the people that you attract, and I explained it through astrology. Now I want to explain how you're so good at bringing these people in and appealing to people, and appealing to people's dreams and hopes and wishes. You have Venus in Pisces, nature boy. You have Venus in Pisces. And like I said earlier, Pisces rules the 12th house. And Venus in Pisces is actually exalted. So you got some good skills, bro, but you're just using it. You're misusing the energy terribly. And I'm going to tell you how that's going to affect you before I get done with this video or with this recording. With Venus in Pisces, see, Pisces rules the 12th house. The 12th house is the last sign, or the last house, excuse me, of the zodiac. Last sign too. And it's been said by many astrologers that the 12th house is the trash can of the zodiac, because all the residual shit goes into that 12th house, and the subconscious urges of all the signs before that go into the house. That's why the 12th house is also seen as the subconscious mind. So when you put Venus into Pisces, and Pisces rules the 12th house, what this says is that nature boy has the ability to appeal to people's subconscious. And he has the ability to manipulate their subconscious as well. Because although he has Venus in Pisces, his Venus is opposed Mars and it's square Neptune. So his Venus is in Pisces, but his Venus is also squaring the planet that rules Pisces. So he has the ability to appeal to the subconscious and then manipulate the subconscious. How is he doing that? What do I mean by that? He's got people thinking that their higher mind is their lower mind, or their higher self is their lower self, excuse me. He's got people thinking that that voice that's telling them, nature boy ain't cool, nature boy ain't right, this shit he doing is wrong. This ain't right. Why am I putting up with this? Why am I standing here going for this? Is something wrong with me? That voice, he's got them thinking that's the lower self. And then he's got them thinking the lower self is the higher self. Meanwhile, the higher self has been put under arrest. And the lower self is the part of them that he has submit to him. That's why he can do all that lower shit around them, and they won't say nothing, they won't do nothing, they will help participate in the shit, they will help him cover shit up, whatever. You see, astrology is real. Astrology is real. Not only does he have Venus in Pisces that helps him to appeal to people and manipulate them, and then he has the square aspect going to his Venus. He also has Jupiter in the 12th house. And Jupiter is opposing his sun. in the 6th house of service and health. So if you have any trine aspects going to that Jupiter in the 12th, or if he just had Jupiter sitting up there alone, that would be pretty decent. That'd be pretty good. This is a person here who has a really good imagination. Jupiter in the 12th, because the Jupiter is the planet of abundance. It rules Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a sign of luck. We have that in his subconscious in the 12th. On the positive side, this is a person who has a really good imagination, and this is a person who, if he paid attention to his first mind and listened to his first mind, his higher self, he would be truly, truly, truly blessed. He would be truly blessed. But he hasn't studied his chart, and he hasn't done the necessary work on himself, because not only is that Jupiter in the 12th house opposing his sun, it is also square the moon. And that's the part of him, that's the challenge. His Jupiter in the 12th square the moon. He has tricked himself. He's trying to be so far ahead of everybody else with that Uranus in the 1st house opposing his Mercury, conjunct Chiron, that he done got so ahead of himself that he done tricked himself, you guys. He done fooled, Nature Boy done fooled his own damn self. Oh my God. He has fooled himself. He's convinced himself that as long as everybody's doing what he's saying, and as long as he's able to manipulate all the women to come to the camp and screw him, as long as he's running shit, he's fulfilled. But he's not fulfilled. He's very empty inside. Those of you out there who don't believe what I'm saying, go study what it means for Jupiter to be square the moon. And then what does it mean for that Jupiter to be in the 12th house with moon and Leo? Go Google it. Google all that. Study it. Study moon and Leo. Study Jupiter in the 12th. Study Jupiter square moon. I mean, really dissect it and study it, and you'll see that Nature Boy is not fulfilled. He's not emotionally fulfilled. He's not mentally fulfilled. That's why he's always up all types of hours analyzing shit, trying to break shit down so he can be ahead of everybody. He's not the real Nature Boy, the potential Nature Boy he could have been had he been studying his chart and doing work on himself. That guy is not even online. That guy is gone. He's gone. Some people don't believe it, but your higher self can lose against your lower self. It can lose the fight. It can lose the battle. It doesn't mean that it has to be like that forever. Your higher self can come back online. It definitely can come back online.